Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today we're going to talk about brushes for beginners, and I'm really excited to do this video. I don't know why, I just am. I always get asked what brushes I use for specific applications like foundation, blush, contour, eyeshadow. I want to share that information with you today. First, I want to get out of the way. We're not going to talk about certain brands. I'm just showing you the brushes that I think you should have when you are beginning your makeup journey. The first type of brush we're going to talk about is the powder brush. Now, there is a difference between a powder brush where you're putting just a light coating of powder to set your makeup, and a powder brush if you are using it to apply foundation powder. This would be a brush that I would apply powder to set my makeup in place. And what I like about this type of brush is that it's big, so you can get a bigger area, and you don't want to apply too much powder. So it needs to be big, and it needs to be really soft, because that helps with not applying too much powder to your face. Now, if you are using a brush for a powder foundation, you want to go with something that's a little more dense, and something like this where it's a little bit more dense and it's a little bit more thick, and then you are getting coverage that you want. So this is for setting, and this is for applying a powder foundation, and there is a difference as to how much product is on your face. Moving on to a foundation brush. There is again a difference between powder foundation and liquid or cream foundation, and you want to make sure that you're using the correct type of brush. So if you do powder foundation, again, this is a perfectly good brush. Not too dense, it's not too thick, and it will apply that great coverage of powder foundation to your face. If you are using a cream or liquid foundation, and you are one that wants to start off with brushes versus like a cosmetic sponge or beauty blender type of thing, I would go with a brush that is really densely packed. So like this is just super thick and dense, and it's not very high. You can see right here that there's a lot going in there, and you want to make sure that it is densely packed, because this helps evenly spread that cream or liquid foundation all over your skin and doesn't make it look streaky or blotchy. I do think one of these sponges, the Beauty Blender, or these are Real Technique, which are much cheaper, and they work just as good as the Beauty Blender. But I like to use these sponges to apply foundation as well, and I really think if you are a beginner and you want to try out different techniques and see what works for you, have this in your supply of tools as well. Moving along to blush and contour, and again, there's liquid options and there's powder options. And apply liquid or cream contours, I stick with my trusty sponge. So I will blend that in, and then I will set my face with powder, and then I will go in with a powder contour. Now, the powder contour brush that I like to use, just because I think it works wonders, is this type of a brush where it is on an angle. I know my brushes are dirty right now, I gotta clean them. But anyways, so this brush, it's a like very soft. It's not super densely packed. You kind of want it to be a little bit soft and movable. You don't want something that's really dense, because you're gonna get streaky or blotchy, or you're gonna take off some of the other makeup that you just put on. So you really don't want something like these foundation brushes to put on something like powder contour. And I like the angles because I can just get it into that little crevice between my cheekbone and my jawbone, where you will want to add that shadow for contour. And I just think the angled kind of helps get that look in there much better than using something like a flat brush. So I always try to use angled brushes when I'm doing contouring or bronzing. On to the next set of brushes that I want to talk to you about, which is blush brushes. Now, normally I like these types of brushes, which are a little bit more tapered. They're not super thick, they're not super dense. They're just beautiful little taper brushes because you want to just kind of dab that blush on. You don't want a really dark, heavy blush line because then you gotta go back in there and buff it out. These kind of help deliver the perfect amount of blush to your skin. Now, if I do want something a little bit more bold because I'm looking for that type of look, I will use a powder brush to put my blush on because I want it to be a little bit darker, a little bit more bold. And because this one is a little bit more dense than this guy right here, it will deliver a lot more makeup. So the denser it is, the more coverage you're going to get. Now with liquid blush, I just kind of use my finger and I lightly dab that on as well. I don't, or I'll take, once I dab that on, I take a beauty blender and kind of blend it in. On to eyeshadow brushes, and the first eyeshadow brush that I think is pretty important to have is something like this, where it is a short, densely packed brush. And what I like to use this brush for is to just kind of set my base for the eyeshadow. And I'll either set my base using a concealer, which this will spread the concealer out and get that packed in really nice, or I will use a really light shade and set my lid with powder using the same type of brush. You can use this whether it's liquid or powder, but I always want a nice big, like dense brush to get that set so that I can start working in those transition shades. And speaking of transition shades, you want to have a nice big fluffy brush for applying a transition shade. Now, transition shades are the first set of eyeshadows that you're going to apply to your eye, kind of just to set the mood, set the base, and get you rolling. And the types of brushes that I like to use for that are these. They're just kind of large, long, and tapered blending brushes. And when applying a transition color, and the reason why I like big fluffy brushes for transition colors, you don't have to be super detailed and specific when applying a transition shade. You are going to apply other shadows on top of that to get the more sculpted and precise look that you're looking for. This is just to help you kind of create a guide to blending in the other eyeshadow colors. So I normally like to do big fluffy brushes because I can get that on, get a bigger area covered in a shorter amount of time is really what it is. So I'd highly recommend you get at least one big, large blending brush. Next is you are going to want a smaller blending brush. So that type of brush, and I will show you what I'm talking about with that. So here are some different blending brushes. They're all tapered and they are a little bit more dense. They're not big and fluffy. They're a little bit more packed in there. You're going to use this brush to really get into those creases and apply that next layer of eyeshadow. And this is perfect for getting in that crease and blending that eyeshadow out a little bit more. The next type of brush I'm going to show you is these right here. These are densely packed dome type of brushes. So there's like a little, it's like a little dome. They're a little bit flat, again, densely packed, and they're dome shaped. And what I use this type of brush for is to get right in the crease. So if I really want to deepen up that crease, I will go for a brush like this because it gets right in there without getting on top and without touching your lid. It's also a great brush to just apply makeup to the lid. So if you want to just kind of do a specific area, this brush kind of does it all. I really love these types of brushes. So again, these are just like dome shaped, tiny, densely packed brushes. of brush I'm going to show you. This is totally optional, and this is when you kind of are in still the beginning stages because you have to practice in order to be able to do this. But you're moving more into like the getting a little more advanced with makeup, and you want to create something like a cut crease. So with that, you get the flat brushes. So these are super dense, very flat brushes, and these are always good to have for something like a cut crease where you're putting foundation on and you only want it specifically in a certain area. Because of the like rounded end of this brush, it's very easy to follow your eye line or your crease line. But it's always nice. I mean, these, if you're very brand new, you don't need this yet. Don't even worry about it. Just have these other brushes and you're fine. If you are kind of in still beginner stage, you want to play around a little bit more and try a little more advanced techniques, I definitely recommend one of these. Okay, the next brush I'm going to show you are these little smudger brushes, and these are great for taking that eyeshadow and just packing it under the lower part of your eyeline, following your lower lash line. And all they are these tiny tapered little brushes. They're called smudger brushes, and they are just wonderful for getting that color into that lower line. You can use them to blend it out, but I really recommend doing a like really short tapered blending brush. Is like a baby blending brush. It's basically a baby blending brush. It's kind of in between the one blending brush and a smudger brush. So I really like how it blends out that shadow along the lower lash line. So you might not necessarily 100% need both of these, because you can smudge out that lower lash line with a smudger brush, but I like to use it as really just getting that deep color on there and then using this tiny brush to blend it out. But if that's too many brushes for you to start off with, just get a smudger brush. It will do just fine. Last brush I'm going to show you guys is this. These are fan brushes, and they are great for like highlights. So if you are a highlight person, I'm not, so I don't normally use these brushes, but they are great for applying just the smallest amount of highlight to the areas that you want to make pop or stand out. I really like these, and they're called fan brushes. That's all they are. This one is obnoxious. I know. I don't even use this one for makeup. I just think it's pretty and I like looking at it. So that is our video for today. I really hope you guys got something out of this video, and yes, these 7 to 8 brushes are what I recommend you buy if you are beginning with makeup. And if you guys have any other questions or concerns, please, don't hesitate to talk to me in the comments below, or you can private message me on my Instagram account, which is _JamieBeth_. I'd be happy to answer any more questions that you guys have regarding brushes, because I know it can be overwhelming sometimes when you are just starting out playing with makeup and getting to know it a little bit better. Again, if you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, as well as a little bell next to it to be notified of future videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.